Hi, thanks for tuning in. This video is to show you how to set up your gimbal settings and adjustments for a more smooth and cinematic movements of your camera. First thing you want to do is locate the menu on the top right hand corner of the screen, and then you'll see on the bottom left the picture of the camera to get into the gimbal settings. And then from there you go to the advanced settings, and we'll start with the gimbal pitch. Before I go into the gimbal pitch, I just want to show you an example out of the box how the gimbal moves up and down and how fast it is. You can't see my finger on the knob controlling the camera right now, but I have my camera being controlled by my left finger on the bumper of the controller. Now, if you'll notice the blue dot on the right side of the screen, this shows you how far your camera is tilting up or down, and you see it's locked there. The camera can be unlocked by pushing this enable upwards gimbal tilt to 30 degree. This will allow you to go further than where that blue dot stops. You can go the extended 30 degree upwards tilt. Now, I'm not sure why they had that locked out of the box, but probably because you can see your propellers depending on the angle of your flight. Not all the time, but sometimes you'll be able to see the blades from the drone, so keep that in mind. Next, we want to go back to that camera settings and play with the gimbal pitch. Now, this is the speed on how fast your gimbal will be tilting up and down. As you can see, the higher the number, the faster the tilt. The lower the number, the slower the movements. Now, I like to keep it at a lower number for slower movements, mostly because that's how I want to get that cinematic camera movement, just that slow, subtle kind of push up or push down. So I'm going to find the sweet spot of not too slow and not too fast, but something that's controllable. And keep in mind, the controllers are also sensitive to the pressure of how much you're turning. So I'm just going to tweak and tune to find the right kind of movement. This feels good, but it's still a little fast. I'm going to see if I can get it just a little bit lower. One thing they need to work on is these little slider wheels. If you want to get a precise number, I wish you could just type it in. Now, the gimbal pitch smoothness. This is going to be the delay when you release your finger off of the trigger, how much of a delay and a drag there is for the camera to move. This is especially helpful to achieve very stable movements. If you find that sweet spot, the lower the number, the faster the delay. There's not much of a delay, but the higher the number, the more of a slower kind of delay there was going to be. So I'm just going to try to tune it here with the wheel and find that sweet spot of when I release the trigger, the movement, how much it'll drag. I just want it to drag just a little bit, just to ensure that the shot will be stable and smooth and it just doesn't stop when you release your finger. Kind of that fast, jerky movement. We want a nice slow reveal, a slow release. So as you can see my finger of when I'm releasing the button. One other thing I want to point out, if you look here on the bottom left of the menu, you'll see a whole other general settings menu. But one other thing I want to point out is the focus peaking. Focus peaking is very helpful and a good tool to have. Let me show you how to get there real quick in the menu. If you go down to the bottom, you'll see here it says focus peak, and you can set the threshold from normal to low or high, and here you can see the difference between how much red highlight to show you that it's in focus. Remember that you should always have your shots in focus, and this kind of helps to remind you that it's in focus or it's not. And a lot of people forget to tap on the screen, but that's how you focus. You just have to tap. It's especially helpful if you want to track something in the foreground and you want to focus on that. That's kind of a good tool to have, to just tap focus, make sure that your foreground's in focus. Or otherwise, if you're in the sky, you want everything in focus, so you want to tap and make sure everything's in focus. So that's it. That's how you set up your camera gimbal settings to be very smooth and make sure that everything is nice and in focus. One thing I want to point out is now that you have your camera's gimbal set up to tilt up and down, the gimbal itself does not turn left or right. It only turns left and right. It pans left and right very slightly. The rest of the panning movement is controlled by the aircraft itself. The drone will actually curve and turn depending on the pressure of the speed and intensity on the joystick toggle. There it is. Those are your cinematic gimbal settings. Let me know if you have any questions, comments. Please subscribe and stay tuned. Thanks again for watching.